Welcome to Pop Go the Writers episode 21. That's right, we are back. We took the 4th of July off. I took all of last week off. Paul, of course, was getting adjusted to being the manager at a comic shop in Detroit. What's the name of the comic shop, sir?
Comic City, West Bloomfield.
Comic City, West Bloomfield. So if you are in West Bloomfield or the West Bloomfield area of Michigan, please stop by and visit Paul in his store and make a few purchases. Take home some great comics and chip chat with Paul for a bit. He's just as lovely in person as he is on screen.
That bad, huh?
This is the new Dan. I've had a vacation. I'm relaxed.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'll be an interesting change of pace.
Yeah. Now, I do want to start off tonight with some sad news, but I do feel we should broach it. DC comic artist Robson Rocha, and I apologize if I'm getting his last name wrong. I've never heard it pronounced, but it looks like it's Robson Rocha. He passed away this afternoon. Word began circulating on social media. Yildiray Sinar confirmed it. A few other artists have confirmed it. Jim Lee has posted about it. He's been dealing with COVID. Robson is a Brazilian artist, and as many of you know, Brazil has not had anywhere near the success of fighting COVID as we have had here in the States and some of the other countries have had. And he's been fighting, his bout with COVID-19 took a turn for the worse, and he passed away today. Robson originally broke in 2010 and signed an exclusive with DC in 2016, where he's been ever since. He's done some just amazing work, and it is really sad to hear someone so young, a father, a husband, a talented artist, and from every indication, just a really good guy. And to pass away from something that became political, that became just devastating, and it shouldn't have. We should have been able, as a country, as a world, dealt with this better. And now we have to say goodbye to such a talented young man. So my condolences to his family, his friends, to his fans. It's a very sad day, and I am sorry for everyone involved. It's just, yeah. So, yeah. And I hate to start the show with sad news, but it deserved a moment of respect. And so, all right, we're going to move on, and we're going to talk about 3 different things tonight. We are going to talk a little bit about the Bad Batch. We're going to talk about Black Widow, and we're going to talk about Loki.
Another one. Oh, that's it.
Yes, Loki. Yeah. We're going to start with the Bad Batch because I think it deserves the least amount of time. Are you caught up on the Bad Batch, sir?
All caught up on the Bad Batch.
All right, let's put out the proper. Where is it? There it is.
But
spoiler warning.
The spoiler roll and flames.
No, that's specifically to the Dan Wickline show. They haven't given it to me for over here, and I do love that thing though. That is just awesome.
I feel like we should play O Fortuna, and have the dun 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 dun.
Stop. Any more that we have to pay?
I'm pretty sure that's public domain at this point.
Yeah, it probably is. By the way, speaking of covers, if you want something really interesting, look up DGs, DEEGEES. I posted on Facebook. It is Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters doing a cover of the Bee Gees song "We Should Be Dancing," and it is just lovely. Yeah, it was surprisingly good.
We should be dancing, yeah.
You're right. You're the one that does bad jokes. Okay. All right. So the Bad Batch. I had been coming back around on it. I felt like they had been doing a lot of filler episodes, and that they were getting too tied into the Clone Wars and bringing in a bunch of outside, characters and not focusing on the Bad Batch. And then they started that, and we had the good episodes with Crosshairs trying to hunt him and getting the chip out of the head. And then we get the episode with Cad Bane and Fennec Shand. And it's like, okay, it's a good episode, but again, they're bringing all these outside things. Then we got a really nice episode with Omega being left behind, working with Sid to scam money, and the team doing something. But then we get this episode. And it's like, why not just run the Rebels opening credits?
See, and the thing that I find is I feel that the reason this show is disappointing you, and it does, is because you decided that it was going to be an event and tightly focused, and it's not. It's a continuation of the Clone Wars. That's what it is, and it's a bridge to Rebels. And it's. I think that you are. I think the heart of your disappointment is in your what's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't matter. Anyway, I think the heart of
Missed expectations,
because you're anticipating it being one thing, and that's not what they designed it to be. But I understand where you're coming from. I do. Mm-hmm. If you're expecting it to be this standalone destination kind of thing, then it. But like, I love this episode because I like Rebels and I like Hera. And I think that, I mean, even Mandalorian, they brought in, yeah, again, spoilers, they brought in Boba Fett, you know, they brought in, you know, they brought in Raylan Givens, Frontier Ranger, which I don't remember him in Star Wars before, but they brought him in anyway. But
yeah, Cobb Vanth or Cobb, yeah.
Expectations. You had great expectations, and that's they were not aiming. I think you're aiming for a different target than they're aiming for.
I will absolutely agree with you. I will agree with you that I had different expectations coming into the series based on when it was being released. That it was going into the same slot as WandaVision, Mandalorian, and Falcon and Winter Soldier, which were these big epic series, and then we get this 16 episode dirge. My
dirge, yes,
dirge. The story they're trying to tell, this episode did nothing to forward the story. It was. This episode was a bridge between the Clone Wars and
Rebels. Yep.
This had almost nothing to do with the Bad Batch. They showed up for minute, 2 minutes at the tops. Everything else about it.
Still. Yeah. But
they showed up, drop off some weapons. Then they when they do have the Bad Batch there, Omega gets all the screen time.
Well, yes, because Omega is just as important as we learned last episode. She's part of the squad. So
she's annoying.
But I Clone Wars devoted episodes to like kind of setting up things in the original movies. And like the Rebels did stuff where it was setting up things for the original trilogy. In other words,
how often? Clone Wars was multiple seasons, Rebels was multiple seasons. This is all happening in the first 10 or 11 episodes of one season.
Sure. But I think that a lot of Star Wars... Now, obviously, there are a lot of Star Wars fans that are going to be complaining because fandom does that. But I think that a lot of others are going to be like very happy to see this sort of stuff.
What's the name? What was the name of the show before this that took place chronologically before this?
It was the 7th season of the Clone Wars.
Right. So in the Clone Wars, they were telling the story of the Clone Wars. In
Sure.
Rebels, they're telling the story of the rebels fighting against the Empire. What's the name of this show?
The Bad Batch.
So shouldn't we be focused on the Bad Batch?
And we are, for the most part. Yep, they took a detour. But at least they tied the Bad Batch in. Like I said,
No,
I just
no,
think
no,
it's
no, no.
expectation.
They threw the Bad Batch in just so they go, yeah, see, they were in it. Was this an episode for D. Bradley Baker to take a night off? You know,
He probably was glad to have it then.
absolutely. Or they could have done. They could have done less than 16 episodes.
They still had the what do they call them? Regs. They still had a reg in there, so.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah. Howler or Hauser. Yeah. It just seemed to me that you have a 16 episode season that didn't need to be 16 episodes. You're doing a lot of these filler because you're trying to make a 16 episode season. It didn't need to be 16 episodes. This episode does nothing to further the story of the season.
Yet. They may bring it around and incorporate it into the whole story. I'm just happy to enjoy a fun episode of a TV show that is about Star Wars, and mostly I think of Star Wars, except the prequels, and even the prequels had their moments. They had the big saber duel between Maul and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. Probably the best part of the entire prequel sequence. I know what you're saying. I guess I'm just more relaxed and less critical, even though I haven't had a vacation like you did.
Do you remember my complaint going in after the first few episodes? I said, it seems like Dave Filoni is kind of a one-trick guy. He brings in a younger character that, and that becomes the focus. They did that with Ahsoka Tano. So you have all this other stuff going on, but we now focus on this younger character of Ahsoka Tano. He did that with Rebels, bringing in Ezra Bridger. That's what Mandalorian is basically, bringing in Grogu. Then we go to the Bad Batch, and he's doing it with Omega. So he takes a break, goes to a completely separate thing, and focuses it on a young Hera. Can he not tell stories that don't involve kids or teenagers or people wanting to be rebel? To be more. Why is it always the same story?
I know. I had that same problem actually with the original Star Wars. All these cool guys took some farm boy off, and he became the hero.
Okay, so yes, they're doing the same story over and over and over again.
Ish. But I mean, it's to suggest that it's like Filoni's one trick is ignoring the broader.
I didn't say it's the same trick that Lucas did.
But it is. That's what I'm saying. It's a very Star Wars trick.
Yeah. No, I mean, I didn't say I disagreed with you.
Yeah. So I guess I'm just, when it comes to this stuff, I'm less critical because as with Star Wars, as long as I'm having fun with it, I'm happy with it.
Okay, and that's and to me, this episode wasn't fun at all.
Yeah. Well, I understand you're a crotchety old guy.
All right. So we're going to move on.
I kept working towards that end, but
Yep, I'll let you have that one. We'll end right there. We are going to move on to Black Widow.
Black Widow.
Black Widow.
northeast.
Yeah. Now, I will admit that I had just gotten home from driving from Central Cal or back from San Luis Obispo. Traffic had been kind of
Yeah, he
bad.
was great in Howard Chaykin's American Flag. San Luis Obispo.
Okay.
There was a
You've been
character.
saving these up for like 2 weeks, haven't you?
Not at all. Everything comes off the top of my head. There's a little bit of a bare spot.
Can we get a
going on back
guillotine,
here
please?
that just lets
Can
them
we
out.
get a guillotine? Just a little off the top.
From
So-
right here. Hey, you invited me.
I know. And I keep inviting you and I keep bringing you back. So,
Yeah. You're
Lisa and I
tired.
sat, Lisa and I,
It's what- yeah, you were exhausted from your journey.
yeah, but we were in a good headspace. So we fired up the movie and Lisa found it a little boring. She didn't like she thought the opening was really boring, that it was so much family drama. And I don't agree with that. But I do have some problems with the film. But the reaction I'm seeing online seems to be a lot of people just over the top in love with this movie. And I'm seeing some people complain about it, but I'm seeing some people referring to it as top 3 MCU film.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see that. So I'm going to let you go here. What do you see here? What did you take away from?
Well, I very seldom do rankings, except that, of course, all the Captain America movies are at the top, because Captain
yeah,
America. I think that you couldn't have gotten away with this. I'm going to call it a reinterpretation of Natasha, because we didn't really know about the Natasha's background in the cinematic universe, other than she had read in her ledger.
Yeah.
Budapest.
Budapest. Pest.
I did quite enjoy that. It was just like, and I've been thinking it ever since the first Avengers, where they were like, you remember Budapest very differently than I did.
And they said it differently there too.
Yeah.
Scarlet Witch did the Budapest, which is the natural Hungarian version.
Yeah.
And, Clint did the Americanized version.
Yes. I think you mean Black Widow, not Scarlet Witch.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. But I enjoyed it. It was an action adventure espionage movie in the vein of Winter Soldier. Mm-hmm. Although I would not say it was as good as Winter Soldier, but I enjoyed it. I thought that you couldn't have done the rest of the movie without that setup.
Yeah.
And I wonder if the setup was undercut by the fact that it's sort of like, well, it felt like, for people not really familiar, might have been feeling like, oh, we're borrowing from the Americans.
Yeah, no kidding.
Show. But of course, the Americans is based on actual real stories, like real life events. So it's not like, it's more dipping in the same well than copying. I thought that all the actors were interesting. I felt like Harbor was a little over the top, but I think they were asking, I think they wanted him to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought Florence Pugh was very good, and she had pockets.
She did. She had pockets.
Women tell me it's very, very important.
Yes. Anytime you tell a woman she has a nice dress and there's pockets, she will tell you there's pockets.
It has pockets.
Yes.
And which I thought, and anytime Rachel Weisz is on a screen, big or small, I am right there.
Mm-hmm.
I just and ScarJo did did a fine job as well.
Yeah.
I thought everybody did pretty well. Ray Winston was for
Little one
some reason
note.
I didn't, and I didn't quite buy him as Russian.
No,
No,
he felt more like a English mobster.
yeah, just every once in a while. I think he's from Wales originally, and every once in a while it felt like he was drifting in that direction. But he certainly does come across as menacing, and and certainly plays Heartless well. So, I are you happy about Taskmaster?
No.
Oh, because well, you predicted it close to right in that you again spoilers, and I'm going to throw it to you on this. Turned out Taskmaster was indeed a woman.
Yeah, I actually was hoping he wouldn't be, because I think that the character has a lot of potential, and I think the way they handled the character nips a lot of that potential.
Yeah,
the fact that she was a basically chemically controlled character, and there was some kind of computer set up in her to explain away. The only saving grace, I think, is they refer to the Taskmaster protocol, meaning that there might be others. So I was hoping it was going to be the Mason guy, her buddy, would turn out to be the bad guy or be the Taskmaster. Yeah. I was hoping, because she looked weird in that suit when they took the helmet off. It's like, how does that body match up? And why would you pad it that much? What's the purpose of disguising her? It just didn't work for me. I know a lot of people thought it was going to be Rachel Weisz's character in there.
Yeah.
And I didn't see that at all. I didn't see that. I didn't think that would be it. But when they cast, is it Olga Kuryakin?
No.
The actor?
Kuryakin is...
I know.
Kirilenko, I believe it is.
Kirilenko, thank you. From the James Bond movies, that was interesting because we didn't see what she was going to be. And that's where I thought, okay, maybe she would. But her being Dreykov's daughter, it just doesn't work for me.
And structurally, it lets Natasha kind of slightly off the hook. Still angst, but it lets her slightly off the hook. Which I don't know that you needed to, because since her introduction, her second appearance, she's been pointing out she did a lot of questionable stuff. So the idea that, this one person she didn't actually kill.
Yeah. All right. So my basic thoughts on the movie. I thought that the family stuff, in a lot of ways, was the highlight. I really liked the opening, the whole takeoff on the Americans, or the story of the
little Stranger Things thrown in. Kind of felt like.
I didn't necessarily see that.
Okay,
but I think you're seeing David Harbour and younger kids, and you're thinking things.
Didn't even think about it, but you make a point. It was.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Stranger Things, so that's probably why I didn't see it. Oh, I watched that show. I went, wow, they're really trying to tell us what the 80s was like. Yeah. But I thought David Harbour was excellent. I am a big fan of the actor, and I really liked him as Red Guardian. Yes, he was over the top, but I feel that was kind of the character.
Yeah.
And I would absolutely be down for a David Harbour or a Red Guardian movie, especially if it's him fighting Captain America in the 1980s, and we can find out that there was another Captain America at some point, because there were in the comics, there was multiple that filled in between him.
Maybe like a corporate Cap or something.
Yeah, corporate Cap or communist Cap or
Reaganomics, Reagan Cap.
Yeah, and you cast like John Krasinski, who was the second runner-up for Cap when Chris Evans got it, something like that. And I would love that movie. That would be awesome.
Did you enjoy the cameo by Ursa Major? The huge guy that he arm wrestled.
Yeah.
The last guy he arm wrestled was named Ursa. And he's like, he says to him something about, too bad, quit whining, little bear.
Oh, God, I missed that altogether. Good catch. Soviet super soldiers.
No, Ursa Major is a character in formerly the Red Guard, wasn't it?
Soviet super soldiers.
Yeah, the Soviet super soldiers, who literally transformed into a bear.
Yep, it was Vanguard, Dark Star, Ursa Major, Crimson Dynamo, and the Red Guardian. And we got the Crimson Dynamo name drop later on. That was great. Still running around being Crimson Dynamo. It was Red Guardian.
I really on purpose. Yeah, it was Red Guardian.
Yes. But no, so I thought David Harbour was great. I love Rachel Weisz, and I think she did great as well. Scarlett Johansson was wonderful. I'm okay with Florence Pugh. I didn't necessarily warm up to the character. I don't know if I'm going to connect to her the same way I did with Natasha. Yeah. I've never been a big fan of Yelena Belova, so we'll have to see how they play her out. Is she going to be more of a bad guy, meaning that she's connected to Val at the end? But
spoiler. Oh, wait, we've got it still.
We've got the warning up, yeah. But so yeah, I mean, from that aspect, I liked it. I thought the other Black Widows were cool. I thought the floating Red Room was a little over the top, a little Moonraker-ish, which they have to watch.
I just saw it as like, hey, if S.H.I.E.L.D. can have helicarriers, why can't I don't know at this point, the GRU, I guess, have a cloud city, if you will.
Yeah. So I thought it was a bit much, but then again, they actually have her watching Moonraker in the show. So it kind of makes sense. They do borrow some Moonraker-ish things.
Fair enough.
I love the scene in the prison. I love them just yelling, "Move your ass!" There was no niceness to it. It's like, yeah, we're busting you out. Get out of here. And they send him a Red Guardian toy. All of that worked for me. Up through that point in the movie, I was fully in. I thought Taskmaster looked cool. The computer thing, like inside, that didn't. I like him being a natural mimic.
Yeah, they ripped off. Having never heard it, Jamal Igle and I did a take on U.S. Agent, where he had been upgraded and was basically able to. They could feed him skills. So like I'm watching that going like, but obviously, parallel creation happens all the time. We're all dipping into the same well, as I was talking about earlier.
I think Ray Winston's character of Dreykov was very one note.
Yeah.
There was no depth to the character. They spent no time developing him. The fact that they were keeping Taskmaster's identity a secret meant they spent no time developing him either. And where that worked in the beginning, you can't do that now. After having villains like Killmonger and Thanos and Hela and, these great villains, going back to these cookie cutter villains just really doesn't work. And
he ended up and I know it was supposed to show how bad he is, but he ended up being so like when they reveal who Taskmaster is, it's just she's another part of my big scheme. And they had a chance to humanize him slightly, make him a little less one note. That, the only way, like, he could have been like, the only way to save her was turn her into a weapon. And I don't know what that accent was I was trying to do just then, but they could have, he
Very
could have had
Southern
some
Russian.
towards Natasha instead of the, oh, thank you for mangling my daughter so I could turn her into another weapon.
Yeah.
So that, but all in all, I guess I'm Pollyanna today.
Well, and I'm not coming that far down on the movie. Like I said, I've got some problems with it. The villains were one of the major problems. Also, there's something I don't get. Why Natasha stood there waiting for Ross and all those people to show up. And then suddenly she's free and taking Avengers Quinjet. What the hell happened?
Well, we know what happened from Infinity War, because this takes place after Civil War. She let herself be captured so she could infiltrate the raft and help bust everybody out. Because like supposedly Captain America rescued everybody from the raft, but
that doesn't work. That doesn't work.
Why?
Because when they all get off the floating red room, it's crashed. She's standing there waiting for Ross to show up. Ross is on his way. So she's going into custody at that point. The next scene we see, she is out of custody, getting a Quinjet, and says, I'm going to go try to put my family together and bust some people out of jail.
Yep. I'm going to have to look at the timeline again. Yep, you poked a hole. I was for some reason I was thinking it was after, but no, it wasn't.
No. So what Brian asks, do you think they're building towards Dark Avengers or Thunderbolts? Something to that effect. The fact that Val is recruiting Yelena and now John Walker, it sure seems like from timeline wise, it looked like this took place before Falcon, and this should have come out before Falcon.
Right.
Yeah. And it looked like she's been working with Yelena for a while.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it was. I have a hard time believing that they'll be called Thunderbolts unless it's purely because the MCU wants to, do some trademark bolstering. Because I could see them. Trying to think, are the Avengers still a thing after they came back? We don't actually know, really.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know where the Avengers are. We don't know what's going on with anything. So the Dark Avengers, it could be, but it could be Thunderbolts because of Thunderbolt Ross. He did name him, name it after them, after himself. He seems arrogant enough.
Sure. Or they could be the Secret Warriors.
Or the Champions, or the Defenders, and they can take any of the names they have.
Oh no, that can't be the Defenders because. Oh, that's right. The Netflix shows have been wiped.
Yeah, though actually I read something, I don't remember exactly, a headline that said that they might be canon again for some reason, but this wasn't a we've got it covered type of thing. This was more of a legit source. Yeah. So I got to go back and read the articles to see what they're talking about, but maybe.
But to answer Brian's question, though, I'd say definitely.
Yeah, they're definitely building towards a team. What they'll call it?
That's the question. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe they'll call it Shampoo Jones.
Yes. Could be.
Yes.
Or not the event, not necessarily the Avengers, in honor of the not necessarily the news TV show.
They're the Revengers. They're all after revenge.
Didn't they actually refer to the Caps group as Revengers or something like that?
No, Thor's group that went back to save Asgard. Thor called them the
That
Revengers.
was it. Right.
Yeah.
Right, because he's too lame to actually come up with a decent title. But Thor gives us a nice segue.
Yeah, but we're not segueing yet.
Okay. You can't set me up like that and not expect me to think you're setting me up for the segue. Or as I used to think it was, Sigua when I was young. Or Steve.
That was last week.
Sigu. Yes, that's how I used to think it was. Another one of those. If you haven't heard something pronounced,
right?
Yeah. So, what else did you want to talk about with the Widow?
Well, I'm curious what you think happened in that time jump, because it does seem weird that they created that time jump. And Kate Shortland, the director, was asked by, I think, Variety or something about possibly doing a sequel to Black Widow.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, are they just creating a window to be able to do a sequel? I mean, the box office on this has been really strange because it's a day and date release with Disney Plus.
Right.
It would be hard to tell what the opening weekend is, except Disney actually came out and said how many premiere passes it sold for the movie. So they can look at it and go, well, it made 86 million for the opening weekend domestically, another 79 million internationally, and another 60 million through Disney Plus. So it's coming in about 215 million for an opening weekend, which is really good.
Yeah.
But that's still, even just looking at domestically, because most of the Disney Plus money was domestic. If you take that 60, combine it with the 86, you're pushing up towards 150. It's 146 million. That's really good for an opening. Yeah. That's the best thing since the last Star Wars movie.
Right.
In 2019 was the last one to make that kind of money. So,
I just took it as that gap as being, yes, Natasha let Ross, even without thinking about the rescue, which I was mixing up in my head, that she just let Ross take her so he wouldn't go after everybody else.
Tried to free up her buddy Mason.
Yeah, because if anybody can get away from Ross and his goons, it's Natasha.
Yeah. True.
Just a quick aside, because I feel like it ties in. Were you a Leverage fan?
Oh, absolutely.
Have you watched any of the?
I haven't had a chance yet, but I want to. I saw you posting about it.
I don't feel like it's a spoiler. So, at one point, somebody asks Parker, but how? And she's like, I'm Parker. It's a tautology. How did you do some crazy thiefy thing? I'm Parker. And sort of Natasha's the same way. How did you escape? I'm the Black Widow. Like, what why do you ask?
Just since you brought it up, just real quick, how is Leverage with Noah Wyle in place of Timothy Hutton?
It's good because he's not really in place of Hutton. He comes in as a new guy, and so he's not filling that niche at all. Sophie is basically running the team, and he's just he's got a special set of skills which aren't going to kill anybody, because Elliot would get him for trademark infringement. But because he works well with the ensemble, and because he's not being like a Nate substitute, he works. I think it wouldn't work if you had brought somebody in to be new Nate.
Yeah.
And I won't get into what the reasons, the
Okay.
in-story stuff, because I don't want to spoil it for you.
Yeah. Thanks.
If you're a Leverage fan, I think that you will enjoy Leverage Redemption.
For a long time there, Leverage and White Collar were my two favorite shows on the air.
Yeah. I still need to watch White Collar. I have not. It's time, you know? That's
Sit
why I
down
didn't
and watch
watch
the
it.
pilot. If the
Yeah.
pilot doesn't hook you, the rapport between Matt Bomer and Tim DeKay, if that doesn't hook you, then you'll never like it. I mean, it's a show that the pilot should be enough to get you hooked.
Yeah.
It's not like, well, you got to watch 6 episodes.
Yeah.
The
shows like that, people tell me, oh, you should like White Collar, Burn Notice, and what was the other one? There was another one. Oh, Psych. Those are 3 shows that they're like, you will love these shows. I tried Burn Notice, and I think I gave it like 6 episodes, and it just never really grabbed me. And Psych, I get the feeling if I give it more time at some point, it will grab me. But again, it was like the first few episodes, I was like, yeah, all right, Misfit Detective. So since like in that time frame, those were the 3 shows that everybody told me I should be watching. I haven't prioritized White Collar because it was always in that group.
Leverage and White Collar for me were watch every episode, get them on Blu-ray or on disc so I have them in case they get canceled and I can watch them again. Yeah. Burn Notice was try to catch it. If it's on, try to watch it. They were pretty good. There were some bad episodes. There were some good episodes. Bruce Campbell was great in it. It was pretty good.
I'm both a bad geek and a bad Detroiter because I like Bruce Campbell. I am not a Bruce Campbell fanatic.
Psych. Psych, I caught a few episodes. There were some clever parts to them, but overall, not a huge fan. And I don't think I've seen that many episodes. But I know there's one.
The chemistry between the leads is supposed to be the big.
Yeah. There's an entire episode.
Hill.
Yeah. There's an entire episode, I think, dedicated to like the band Go West or something like that. And I caught that one and it was hilarious because they had the actual band in it. But other than that, it's an okay show. But I would definitely put, if you like Leverage, White Collar is the closest thing.
Gotcha.
And White Collar is just brilliant. I would put White Collar above Leverage.
I kill you.
Okay, one last Black Widow question before we move on to Loki.
Okay.
The closing, the end credit scene.
Yep.
It's obviously a setup for the Hawkeye series that we should be getting in the next couple, and sometime before the end of the year.
No, except I thought the Hawkeye series is taking place after the return. No, it's the snap and the blip. So I thought it was taking place after the blip.
We don't know.
Okay.
Because it could have taken place when he became Ronin.
Yeah. But that was my thought, too, was that it would tie into the series.
Yeah. Well, because she's scheduled to be in the Hawkeye series.
Yeah. And the picture was definitely him as Ronin.
Yes.
So
what up with that?
Ooh-wee.
It's just that caught me by surprise.
Jason Sudeikis dance for doing what's up with that. But yeah, that did catch me. I was like, Go ahead. Sorry.
I would say I kind of expected another, hey, I'm putting a team together type scene, not
right.
Hey, I have another mission for you. You're already working for me. And by the way, you're going to go kill an Avenger.
Yeah. And actually, now that I think about it, it actually has to take place after Endgame
Right, because Natasha's already dead.
Right. So everything will be after the blip.
Yes.
But yes, the idea
the snap and the twist and all that, yeah.
Yeah, that although given pretty unfair given the way Hawkeye fought tooth and nail to be the one to sacrifice himself.
Oh yeah. I'm sure that'll come up.
Yeah.
That and then she'll eventually become friends with him or something, but
yeah, or grudging respect or something.
Yeah.
When she realizes that he cared about Natasha, almost to the same degree her family does.
Right. Well, ever since Budapest.
Yes. Budapest.
Pest. Budapest.
Pest. Pest.
Pest. Pest.
Pest.
Pest. Pest.
Okay, we can stop now.
I think it's kind of funny. Okay. Any other takeaways from the film before we move on?
I don't really have anything else. I felt like it was somebody described it as eventually falling into a good Bourne territory, and I thought that was pretty accurate. I mean, it had a little bit of Marvel, the mind control stuff was a little over the top in the floating city, but yeah, it had very much that kind of espionage feel, which I thought was appropriate. And Red Guardian and Milena are still around. So
okay, so quick questions for you. Will we get a sequel to Black Widow?
I don't think so. Okay. Because you know what? Now that I think about it, we don't know whether Scarlett Johansson has completely fulfilled her contract. Although, given the number of movies she's been in,
I think she has, but that doesn't mean they can't back a Brinks truck up to her house.
True.
Okay. Will we see more of Red Guardian?
Boy, I hope so. Harbor's pretty busy, but I really hope we do.
Well, Stranger Things is coming to an end.
Yeah, but he keeps busy with other stuff as well.
Yeah.
What about the Hellboy sequel?
That ain't happening.
But he's doing a lot of stuff, so we'll see. It would be really good to see that character again, and I bet you he'd go for it.
Do we see Milena again?
That's a tougher one because Rachel Weisz seems to be very picky about what she takes. Although actually I want to see Rachel Weisz in the Hawkeye show because she was the scientist / not really even love interest in Bourne Legacy with Jeremy Renner.
Right.
So, I'd just like to see one of those Dirk Benedict Cylon moments.
Okay.
I'm not even going to explain that one for the kids.
Will we see Taskmaster again? Or a version of Taskmaster again?
I think we will see a version of Taskmaster again. But I'm not sure that it'll be a character from this movie.
Dreykov's daughter, Antonia.
Yeah, I'm not sure it'll be Antonia.
Right. Okay.
And do you think if we do have Antonia back, they will ditch the big padded male-looking armor?
No, I think it's more likely we have someone else in the costume, and it'll be a guy.
Yeah. Because somebody else can undergo whatever process she went through.
Exactly. Probably somebody more willing. It's going to be Adrian Coulson. Next, we'll see Phil Coulson inside the suit.
No, Phil Coulson's an LMD, I think.
What happens after they merge the multiverses? And
Oh, that's a good point.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to multiverses.
Speaking of the multiverse, there you go.
See, I can segue too.
Yeah.
All right. So, Loki. What the holy hell?
2 words. Thanos copter.
Yes.
I missed it my first time through.
Oh, I saw it right away. I'm like, oh my God, really?
Oh.
They interviewed Kate Shortland again on a podcast, and somebody asked her, "What are things? What are some things that you are really proud that you got to sneak in to the episode?" And the 2 things she said was the Thanos copter, which was actually executive producer Kevin, I think it's Kevin Walker.
Yeah.
What it was his idea, and when he explained it to her, she's like, "Oh hell yeah, we need a Thanos copter." And then when they ran it up the flagpole, everybody's like, Thanos copter, definitely straight out of the comics. The other thing is Frog Thor.
Right. Technically not Throg. Throg was a frog who got a splinter of Mjolnir, whereas Frog Thor was Thor turned into a frog.
Yes. And the label on the thing is T365, which was the episode he got turned into. He got the hammer and became Thor Frog. But what I found out is that little sound it makes as it's struggling against the glass.
Yeah.
Is Chris Hemsworth. Oh. He recorded that. They actually brought him in to record that. There was going to be a second scene. The character was going to be part of the first episode where they're going through all the things that Loki did in the time theater. And they were going to show that when he turned Thor into a frog. And so there would have been more of that. And they had to cut it for time. It was just getting too long. So there would have been more of that. So it's just that cameo. But what is with Marvel with passing through things and putting in Easter eggs like they did with WandaVision that all messed us up? Hey, that's the Grim Reaper's helmet.
Didn't mess me up because I missed it. I had to go back and watch it in slow-mo. Sure enough, that's Grim Reaper's helmet. I mean, hey, if you're gonna troll, an Asgardian show is the place to do it.
True.
Also,
the Polybus machine, the video game.
Yeah, the one that was supposed to be part of the PsyOps in the Pacific Northwest.
Yep. And then the big battleship that drops in is the one from the Philadelphia experiment.
Right.
So they did
Which
pretty
was about time travel, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, the movie was about time travel, but the actual urban legend is that the ship was turned invisible.
Right. And it's turned invisible, and then at some point they thought it teleported, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of weird stuff goes along with the.
By the way, I do love the movie Philadelphia Experiment, but I'm in for any Michael Pare movie.
I was
Michael Pare's in it.
Just don't watch, what was it, Ancient Empire or whatever it was?
Haven't seen that one.
Sequel to Sword of the Sorcerer. It's he's only in this opening sequence, and it's a voiceover where they just have characters in front of a parchment where it's sort of supposedly the book that they're reading out of, and then some of the actors do fighting in front of this parchment looking thing. Plus it's got Sorbo in it, so that's a good reason not to watch it. So the Pare is canceled out by the Sorbo. But yeah, I mean, after Streets of Fire, although I first knew him from Greatest American
Which
Hero.
American Hero, yeah.
But yeah, after Streets of Fire, I usually give any Perry thing a shot.
For me, it was Eddie and the Cruisers.
Oh yeah.
That's where I first saw him. Was that, and then the sequel to that, and then Streets of Fire, which is still I got it in the tin book version of the Blu-ray just recently because But then you also got Jim Steinman music in it too.
Yeah.
So may he rest in peace.
I think yes, indeed. I feel like we've jumped timelines though.
It's fine. They threw in the Philadelphia Experiment ship.
Yes, that's and apparently Aloth is straight out of the comics. The sentient
Aloth is not only straight out of the comics, he's directly tied to Kang.
What? Kang?
Yes. Also, when we finally get close enough to the Avengers Tower, and the name on it is QENG, which is the company owned by Nathaniel Richards, who becomes Kang. They are putting in so many things that tie to Kang. Ravonna Renslayer as the judge. I mean, it's just they're saying we're going to do Kang. We're going to do Kang. That if next week it turns out it's not Kang, I think people might riot.
Well, you know who it's going to be.
Mephisto.
Yes.
Oh, we saw that in the first episode with the red face on the stained glass.
I mean, they've been telegraphing it since before the Kang drop. So
yeah.
And you know, the funny part is, Mephisto was actually that little kid that had the kablooey gum.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
I like that. Yeah. I honestly think I think story for what they've been doing with the Disney Plus series, it would make more sense if it was another Loki who was behind all this. Even Richard E. Grant's Loki, because yes, he died, but we've already established that he can make illusions so good that it fooled Thanos. Why couldn't he make an illusion that he got eaten by Aelith?
Well, and plus, if he's in charge, Aelith is his guard dog. He trained it.
Yeah.
So, although, by the way, am I the only one who saw that castle and went, Doom? I mean, it's a very, I don't think he's going to be introduced.
I don't think he's going to be either, but now Brian says, I think it's going to be revealed that He Who Remains is a Loki variant. He Who Remains in the comics is the one that created the TVA and the Timekeepers and all that stuff.
Gotcha.
And that Kang will be revealed in the post credits. I think that is a highly probable scenario that we have like a Loki variant at the end who's putting this together, and then we'll meet up Kang in the end credits. I think that would make the most sense to me, for how they've been doing the story.
A Loki variant.
I don't think Kang would be a Loki variant. I think that's going too far, especially since he's going to be the big bad of most people think he's going to be the big bad for
Quantumania.
No, not just for Quantumania, but for phases 4 and 5, or the next. He's the next Thanos level villain. He's the reason they're going to all come together as a team again, and that makes sense because he is that level of a villain. He's a little more than Scott Lang should be able to deal with. Even with Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne, and Hope. But I could see them doing, because making these insular stories they've been doing, it would make sense that it's a Loki variant who's behind all of this, who's already been messing with the TVA or created the TVA. That makes sense. And then introducing Kang as a la Thanos at the end of Avengers, and then we meet him again. That would make a lot of sense to the way Marvel works. But I think it's also possible that it's just flat out Kang.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah. Good.
No, I think that I think they might do the Loki thing, but I kind of feel like they won't. I think they'll go for um uh now I suppose it might be a Loki variant that moved into the empty castle in the quantum realm. Um, but I think that we'll then find that the castle was already there, and it'll leave a question mark, and then maybe. But yeah, I don't know. It just seems, which I don't put past them, but it seems a little baity switchy to go look a Loki, but Kang. Um, so
Well, if it's Richard E. Grant's Loki, that I think that would work.
fair.
If it's classic Loki, because we've established him now, he's been around for 2 episodes. The end of 4, and then now. I think they could pull that off if we find out that even if it's something as simple as Ravona's walking through the castle afterwards, and she's like, "Why did you let him do this?" And Kang walks out and gives some kind of line like, "I wanted to see what would happen," or just something like that, and then we end with that as the reveal. And I think that would work because if Kang is the active villain here, then the multiverse of madness feels like Kang has to be involved. But if he's a passive introduction, then I think he can stay in the shadows for the Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah. But again, I don't know. This shows I've been able to figure out the time travel. Most of the stuff I was coming up with on the theories of how that stuff was working has turned out to be pretty accurate.
Yeah.
But what they're going to do story-wise, no freaking idea.
Yeah. Yeah, every time I think they're going to zig, they don't zag, they zoink. I mean, it's like, oh, there was a third option of which I was not aware. So.
Here's a question for
you.
Why did 2 frost giants need a blanket because they were cold?
Well, they're not frost giants, they're half frost giants. And I think that it was just part of the. I think they can detect, they're aware of temperature, right? But I think it was part of their awkward
flirting.
Courtship?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where, they were just.
Does that work for you?
That they're. It works so well because, yes, as Mobius said, of course you fell in love with yourself. How more narcissistic can you be? And I think that it does for me in this context that they're not, neither one of them is used to being open and honest and real with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And they find that they can be, that's kind of working for them, and they both feel really vulnerable. And so they end up with this fumbly thing, which is very weird because it is themselves.
Yes. That's true.
So I don't know that I would have a crush on a female me. But hey, I'm not Sophie
DiMartino.
So yeah, it does not work for you. That aspect.
It pops me out of the story a little bit. And because it just seems it seems a little rushed. They're asking us to really accept this whirlwind courtship, and it's a little hard to take. So every once in a while, when it gets over the top, like the two of them sitting there and talking about, well, maybe we can find out together or figure it out together. It's like, I don't think we're there. Maybe if there was more time, I feel like it's A, a little weird, and B, a little rushed. And I'm not saying it's bad. I love this series. I love like 99% of this series. That is one little hiccup, though, that kind of that's the little bump on the highway, I feel. You know? It feels like they could have come up with a more clever thing than the two of them falling for each other. You know?
Yeah, but that's presuming that falling for each other is the extent of it. That's why I say it just feels like, to me, the bigger part is the emotional connection rather than an attraction.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you've, I'm sure, run into it where you meet somebody and you become fast friends.
Yeah.
And because you just feel simpatico. And I think that that's what's going on here. Plus, again, the narcissism. But,
yeah. Yeah.
But it, you know, if it works for you, it works for you. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I mean,
yeah.
That's
it's kind of like Tone and I. You know, we just kind of the same person blended, and yeah. So
sure. Just agreeing with you, man.
Okay.
Not going to argue. Yeah, I've had, you know, I had friends that I met, and just like that, you know, we connected, and I think it's more of that.
Yeah.
But okay. I do think that there's an undertone of attraction, which, yeah, or which I don't know that would be considered, you know, well, let's not get into it.
Well, okay, let me bounce this off you, and this might actually kind of cement it all.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think
very little
that most of the variants, the reason they became variants is because they stepped away from the path that led them to these megalomaniacal actions? The, you know, old classic Loki, you know, stepped away and actually found out he cared and wanted to know how his brother was and stuff like that. And that's when they hit him. Sophie was actually fantasizing about being a Valkyrie and being a hero. And that's when they took her. Is it any time that Loki strays from being the loser catalyst that causes other people to become great, that's when they get erased?
Because I was going to say kid Loki would fly in the face of that, but since he succeeded in killing Thor, and then all the stuff that he was supposed to do down the line, you know, that would have wiped out the Avengers. Thor wouldn't have had, you know, a bunch of stuff. That So yes, he no longer is acting as that stone that hones the blade.
Yes.
Now Brian is pointing out that Loki falling in love with him themselves is pretty toned down compared to some of the mythology, where again he sleeps with
a horse,
a giantess, and a horse, and he transforms shapeshifts into a woman at least once. Mm-hmm. So I mean, there's a lot of
there's a lot of interesting stories about Loki.
Yep.
The boy makes his father blush.
Yeah.
And Odin's done some bad things. Yeah.
You're saying he's a mean mother?
Shut your mouth.
Just talk about Odin. Thank you.
Speaking of Odin, when I was on my vacation this last weekend, I went to this little winery, and there was this giant white dog. I think he was a Pyrenees, and he was just this big floof of a dog, and he was the guardian of the winery, and he would just wander around and greet people. And it was a dog-friendly place, so if you brought a dog, he'd come up and check out the dog. And the dog's name was Odin. Yep, nice. And he was absolutely awesome. And then at one point, he got into a growling match with another dog. And when they got broken up, and I just went, Odin, it's okay. Relax. Odin, you're fine. I don't know this dog. I've been there for an hour having a nice glass of wine. Next thing I know, the dog has come all the way around, is now hiding behind me, and is just staying there while I'm petting him, going nowhere. Like, I'm just going to hide behind the biggest guy in here now.
Yeah. I just to picture the dog going, well, he'll have to go through this guy to get to me.
That's right. I think he found his destroyer. You know?
Shoot. This was not my plan. It was my plan. But very cool. Did you get pictures?
I did. I posted pictures of Odin and all the other stuff over the weekend.
Okay.
Yeah. Odin's an absolute sweetie.
Check.
Yeah.
So
big, beautiful dog, really.
So I'm trying to think of some of the other. Come on, where'd I? Now I saw this actually on the Nerdist that at one point the group of walks past the Red Skull's whirly plane.
Yep.
Which I thought was.
Ronan's ship is crash landed there.
Right. And somebody, and I think it was again on Nerdist, where they said that what looked like a giant Yellow Jacket helmet.
Yes.
So,
which means that the character, when he got shrunk down at the end of Ant-Man, might have ended up in the void.
Yep. Or perhaps the quantum verse and spat out into the void. Or he was from a time branch where he stole the growth part, growth process. And
yes, the head of the Living Tribunal. There was also like this classic spaceship, the Flying Saucer. And I vaguely remember in the early Journey into Mystery episodes, an image of Thor taking on 3 aliens in a ship like that. I can't.
Wasn't it that it looks a little bit like the Toadman ship, but I'm wondering if the Saturnians also have that.
Yeah, it might have been the Toadmen, but yeah.
Yeah, but the Hulk fought Toadmen, but still, yeah.
But it looked familiar to me.
I'm actually doing a search now to see if they've got a picture of the. Oh, come on.
While you're searching,
yes.
What did you think of Richard E. Grant as classic Loki?
I thought it was. I thought he was great. I thought that once again we have proven that when the movie makers set out to do a comic accurate costume, they have to work to make it not work. Because I feel that they go out of their way to make them look hokey when they're using. So he could have been called Hokey Loki.
I think I attributed that. I think I said this on the Thursday show we did. No, we haven't seen each other since. No, I think I said this on the Thursday show when we first saw him at the end of episode 4.
Yeah, we saw him at the end of the.
He made me think of Sunday at the con cosplayer, going around making his final purchases. He's got his bag now, so he can put what he's buying in it. He looks exhausted. The costume has had better, it's not as spruced up as it was. That's what it reminds me of. That those last day cosplayers who they've been wearing that same costume for all 3 days of the show, and now they're making it the rounds, and it looks a little worse for wear.
Yeah.
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 I loved his power level. I love the line about, because it seems like Marvel's trolling fans, because after Infinity War, when Loki died, a lot of people were like, maybe he just created a version of himself and Loki's still alive. It's like, well, in one universe, yes, that's exactly what he did. You know?
Exactly.
And the whole thing of, why did he go after him with daggers when he has magic? It answered all those questions. You know?
Well, of course, he went after him with the dagger because he already he cast an illusion. If I remember correctly, he cast an illusion and thought he was sneaking up.
Yeah.
And as we all know, rogues get a bonus for backstab.
True. Very true. You know, he tells the story of how he got away by creating the illusion and then floating off as a piece of debris. Then we see at the end of this episode where he dies being killed by Aelith, or Aeloth, or whatever it's pronounced.
Aeloth, yeah.
Yeah, and then we open up the smoke, and we see the castle. And if you watch, there's a little piece of debris floating up towards the castle. So that's why I'm thinking it might be him, because he might have already told us what he was going to do.
Right. Although my impression was that he hid as debris in the ship. And then when Thanos left, he floated until he found a thing. Because, yeah.
Possible,
but still, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it would not surprise me if Richard E. Grant's character, or classic Loki, is the one behind all of this. Plus,
I did predict that.
Yeah. Plus, if you got Richard E. Grant, do you just use him for an episode and a cameo, or do you use him for 2 full episodes? You know?
Yeah.
And by the way, the best Loki variant is Alligator Loki.
I love that all of them have the same reaction. Because Sylvie has the same reaction. That's a Loki? I love when Hiddleston Loki just goes, I find it's best not to question it.
Yeah. Oh, his line earlier when he was talking to the other ones, he goes, and I'm heartbroken that I'm not even surprised by that.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that line in something at some point, because I just thought that was just a great line. And I really think Alligator Loki is going to be the hit of this series. They've already got a Funko Pop that's going to come out of him.
I think it was Peter David who said that they should be doing a stuffed Alligator Loki right now.
Absolutely. If I still had my Folkmanis puppets, I have an alligator puppet. I was going to, if I had access to it, I would have had you on here interviewing Loki. I would have made a little horn helmet for him, and we could have had.
I am so sorry I missed that.
But you would have had a chance to interview him. It would have been classic.
Yes.
They've given me my own show.
They have. They don't know what they've done.
I know. They've asked if I want to do more.
Well, good luck with that, since you're already having to take a week off to recover.
Well, that was because of pneumonia.
Oh, sure.
Pneumonia, and that Lisa being in the car crash. It's like, I think we need a little time away.
Yeah.
All right, we've got about
reality interfere with the bit.
Yes, true. That absolutely. Yep. So we got about 10 minutes left. Well, okay. First thing, any other thoughts out of the episode? Anything that jumped out at you?
I dearly loved watching President Loki lose his hand.
Yeah. Oh God, that scream was so good.
Yeah. The fact that the triple cross. Aha! I, boastful Loki, am now king. About that.
Yeah.
No.
We're
About
all.
that.
Were they all supposed to be Lokis?
Yes, each and every one of them. The one guy had a helmet, and it was like water pipes done to make the horns. So
And
yes,
one.
each and every one was supposed to be a Loki because that's what Lokis do. Lokis survive.
Okay, I got to give you credit. That was good.
Thanks. I was not sure I was going to get there when I started it, but
Yeah, that was a good Richard E. Grant. I'll give you that one.
I watched
Because
Tugs of War a lot.
one of the people behind him, I believe, was one of the Lokis we saw in episode 2 in that little video thing where they were showing us the other Lokis.
Yes. One of them was.
Yeah. So we didn't get the Hulk Loki or the Viking Loki, but we did get the Trevor Slattery Loki, is how I called him.
So, and there was one. I think there was one who was actually like a bestial Loki. That was
yeah.
So
that was interesting.
The fact that once they found out, oh no, erasing doesn't actually erase. It just shunts them to the end of time. And I'm thinking, wouldn't erasing actually be better?
Were you happy to see Mobius?
I teared up a little when they had their hug.
He tells the other one. Huh? tells Sylvie that she's his favorite.
His favorite, yeah. And I did love the pizza car.
Yes, skinny pizza.
Yeah,
because skinny pizza should be.
Slice just kept on, boing, boing.
And that's another thing. Yeah. That's another Kang reference. The fact that the pyramid and the Sphinx are there.
Oh, yes.
If
Sphinx,
you ever,
yes.
Yeah, they're in Chronopolis.
Yeah. And of course, Rama Tut flew around in the Sphinx.
Yep. Did you know the Sphinx still had a nose?
Huh?
The Sphinx still had a nose.
Oh, I missed that. I keep forgetting that they eventually made Nathaniel Richards Kang.
Yes.
And it bothers the heck out of me on a mild level. I guess it doesn't bother the heck out of me if it's on a mild level. But it's like Kang was supposed to be a version of Doom. Kang and the Immortus and Ramatut were all postulated to be part of Doom. Nope, turns out it's Reed's dad.
Not Reed's dad. It's Reed's descendant.
Oh, at one point there was a Nathaniel Richards who Reed's dad in I think the Burn run. Reed's dad was Nathaniel, and he went into the future and became the Overlord or something like that.
The way it seems to be right now is that he's a descendant of Reed Richards.
Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, what is with naming guys from the future Nathaniel? Like there's only one name left in the.
There is. Yeah. It's a good cheat at Scrabble.
Yeah. It becomes very much like the aliens from Planet 10.
Okay.
They're all John.
Yeah.
It's
John Big Booty. Yes. Yeah, I know a Buckaroo Banzai reference when I hear it.
Oh, I know you know.
Yeah.
So, what do you think's coming?
Well, I was going to say, I also think that during the Fantastic Four run for Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, they kept making up these time-traveling villains. And one day somebody went, we've got Immortus, we've got Ramatut, we've got Scarlet Centurion, and we've got Kang. It's a little overkill. Can we just make them all one? You know? And that's what they did. That's the only thing that makes sense to me, because there's no reason for the guy to change his name constantly.
Yeah. Well, personally, I just thought it, the idea that, yes, he went back in time and did this and that, and he lived so long that he had different personalities. But the fact that it was always the later one that claimed that the earlier one was his earlier self.
Yeah.
So there was no like, wouldn't I remember it being you?
Okay, Mr. Storrie, we've got less than 5 minutes left, 4 minutes left. In 2 minutes, what is going to be the ending of this series? What are we going to get? How does this end? 2 minutes.
Sylvie and Loki set up house in the castle beyond time and lived happily ever after. And alligator Loki swims in the moat. I think it's a good chance that you are right. And I kind of said it last circle during this show that it will turn out that the Richard E. Grant Loki is sort of behind the TVA, whether he was originally or not. Mm-hmm. He's currently, behind it. He is a trickster after all.
Yes.
But the question is, I'm not sure what the pardon my use of the term, the end game is, which I like. Like, I'm not, in Captain America or Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you knew it's going to be a fight with Sam and the Flag Smashers and Bucky and John Walker are going to play into it. You knew it was where it was going.
Right.
Played out well, but you still knew where it was going. I still am not. I've got no idea. I really don't. And I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Have I used up my 2 minutes yet? I probably have a few seconds, but I'm gonna throw it back to you, so we can do some closing banter after.
Okay. I think it's going to be. I think Richard E. Grant is the most likely, with a cameo of Kang at the end. I think we'll find out that he's doing all this because it makes him. It's the way he becomes the most powerful. It's the way he survives and wins, where every other version causes a problem, and any Loki that deviates from that line is a threat to him. That's why he has them pruned.
Mm-hmm.
That's, but he's lonely at the end of time sitting there. So that's why he hangs out in the void with the other Lokis.
Yeah.
So that's my thought on it. But again, it could be absolutely anything. The show is bat-esque crazy, and it really could be just about any kind of ending. But that's the one that makes the most sense to me as a storyteller. As a writer, that would be the most satisfying answer.
Yeah.
With still setting up.
That's what I'm missing. The why.
The why is because it's the only scenario that he doesn't die and ends up in control. And that's all Loki wanted. It's this timeline. And any Loki that deviates from it is a threat to him, that they may want to try to take over the TVA. So he's got to prune all of them.
Okay. All right.
At least that's the story I would go with. What they're going to go with, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's going to be damn fun to find out. Because we still got to figure out what the hell Miss Minutes is. We got to figure out just how Loki, Mobius is going to burn the place to the ground. I'm all for this. And we got to get Mobius on a damn jet ski at some point.
Second post-credit scene. After
Mobius on a jet ski with Loki, the alligator Loki, hanging on his back.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
and it's a Miami Vice reference because, of course, Sonny Crockett had a pet alligator.
Mm-hmm.
But
especially if they put him in Sonny's outfit.
There you go.
Oh, that would be beautiful.
Although Miami Vice a little early for the '90s, but still, people were still a little bit on that kick. But it'll actually be Mobius on the jet ski as like a post credits, and then Kang as a post.
Yeah. So Mobius mid credit, Kang end credit.
End credit. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. There we go.
All right, my friend. I think we've done a show.
We have filled the 90 minutes.
Yes, we have. Thank you, Brian, for jumping in, asking some questions, making some comments. Always good to see you. Paul, Good to see you. Where can folks find you?
People can find me at Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, Storyville, or at storyville.com.
They can also find you in Detroit, in what store?
Oh, the West Bloomfield Comic City location. Comic City West Bloomfield location, rather. Yep.
Okay. I am available at just about Dan Wickline everywhere, whether it's on Facebook, Twitter. My Instagram is actually DanWick70, but everything else is just Dan Wickline. Also, the Dan Wickline Show returns with all new episodes, unrecorded episodes, starting Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific, Wednesday 2 p.m. Pacific, and Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific, where I will be going into a spoiler discussion on the final episode of Loki. Also, I will be on In-Store this week at 5 p.m. Pacific, Tuesday night, with Kyle Northrup, where we talk about all the new books coming out this week. Thank you all for joining us. It is good to be back. It was a great vacation, but it's nice to be back among friends. And Paul.
And
Paul.
Thank you, Dan.
So, you're welcome, sir. Thank you all. Have a lovely evening. Enjoy the last few hours of your weekend, and we will see you all soon. Good night, everybody.
Good night.